It's the Brad and John Show.
This is the Charlie Block, the C Block. We started about 7:40, and since we have our new GPS clock, it's right on the money. Guess what time it is, John?
We're right on time, Brad.
It's only 7:44. Okay, today's date is September 5th, 2025. This is the C Block, like I just mentioned. The reason I mentioned the date is because a lot of people listen live, but a lot of people listen to the future on bjshow.co or bjshow.us. That is the podcast version and the videocast version in order. So therefore, it'll give some reference. Now, John, in the last break, you think I just sit here eating Little Debbie's. In the last break, I broke my tooth because I bit into a golden apple. That's what happened to my tooth.
Oh, I bet you did, Brad. And what's amazing is after you bit into it, 20 little Chinamen jumped out.
Right.
Hey, Brad, on Tuesday, you talked about your experience
at Pick and Pull.
Yes. And you had kind of a unhappy experience there. Can I give one line from a listener about their Pick and Pull experience?
No, go ahead.
This gentleman, who I love, and I say that in the most heterosexual way possible, he says, I went to the Pick and Pull a few weeks ago and can confirm that Brad's experience was as described. I got to witness a homeless drug addict urinating on Hall Street. Isn't that great, Brad?
Yes. Well, John, see, some people say I'm stupid. Some people say I'm fearless. I have no problem with going into North City. None whatsoever. And when you go in from the west, the way you go is you go east on 70, and you get off at Adelaide, and you make a left on Adelaide. Adelaide ends at Hall Street. Okay? When I got off at the top of the ramp, all I can tell you was I reached in my pocket and I took my weapon off safe. That's all I can say.
Yeah, you were ready to go, Brad.
I was ready to go because the fact there are all these guys walking around. And what's so sad about this is, and for those of you, if you don't believe me when I tell this story, if you go east on 70, exit at Adelaide, at the top of the ramp, there's a gas station that used to be there that looks like a prop from Escape from New York. You know what I'm saying?
That's a great way to describe it, Brad.
It's just like, okay, what the hell is that?
And I don't mean for us to read our North County resume here, Brad, but we both spent beautiful formative years in Spanish Lake. And growing up in Spanish Lake, if I would go downtown, like if I'm going to Busch Stadium, I get off at Adelaide. Like that was our shortcut. Remember, if you're going downtown, get off at Adelaide, you take Hall Street up, right?
Right. Or you could cut through North City and come down like on West Florissant or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely, you could, Brad. Yeah,
right. That was one of the ways. But what's so funny about that is Pick and Pull. And for those of you who don't, and it's funny, a lot of people don't understand what Pick and Pull is. It's this big, massive junkyard. And for a long time, the way junkyards worked are now they're called auto recyclers. That's, proper terminology. The way it worked was they have a lot and you're not allowed to go back with the cars. What they do is you call up and you go, hey, you got a left front spindle for a 2005 Escape. And they go, yeah, but it's not on, it's stolen the vehicle. Yeah, they take a parts puller. The guy goes back and he yanks it off and then he brings it up to and you come and pick it up. Okay, Pick and Pull. And now, talk about inflation. They used to charge you $1 for entrance fee at Pick and Pull. It's now $2.
Oh, it's probably the Trump tariffs hitting you, Brad.
I guess. And you drag your tools with you. You find your car and you go on their map and it shows you, you can go online. You can see if the particular car you're looking for is, and they can tell you what row it's in, yada, yada, yada. You grab your tools and whatever part you want, you take it off. So in other words, that's the whole idea. You pick your part and you pull it, Pick and Pull. So it's always an experience. And the sad part of it is, this is how sad it is, John. In front of Pick and Pull, they have cars that they're selling. These are cars that people have given up on. And this is, to me, what's so sad about the whole thing. There was a car there. I thought to myself, I want that car. And I'll be honest with you. I'll tell you what it is. Matter of fact, it's probably still sitting there. It's a Ford Flex. Are you familiar with the Ford Flex was?
Was it like when they were experimenting with, what is it, EV?
No.
It was part EV and part regular, or what was it?
No, the Ford Flex were produced for about 10 years. Matter of fact, I think last year was 2019, so relatively recently. Some people call it the toaster. It's a very boxy station wagon kind of thing.
Yeah, I've seen that. That's disgusting.
Oh,
right?
I love them. And there's a huge fan base for it. But on top of each of the cars sitting in front, there's a price tag on the window. I think this was $26.99. And this thing looks pristine. It doesn't have a dent or nick in it. It's black. It's beautiful looking. But it has on the roof, it says hold. And when I checked out with the wheel that I got, I said to the guy, hey, what's the deal with that Flex out front? It's on hold. Did somebody buy it? He goes, no. He says, we're waiting on the title. And I said, if I give you my phone number, will you call me? And I says, what's wrong with it? He says, well, I can't let you take a look at it. It's locked up. We don't let anybody in the cars on Sunday. He said, if you come back tomorrow, you can look at it. And he says, you can start it up. You can't drive it. You can start it up. And he says, it's got to check engine light and blah, 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 blah. So, of course, I'm leaving, and I text my son, the automotive expert. I go, hey, 2016 Ford Flex, what do you know? And he gives me a list of all the things. Well, this is the problem with this, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so that's the pick and pull story. Okay, let's go back to the Eep and Thampy thing, okay? Pronounce that again. What's it called now?
It's 3 syllables. Ibogaine. Ibogaine.
And it's derived from a tree?
Yeah, I believe, at first I thought it was a shrub, but I believe it's derived from a tree. And it's been used, I think, for, I don't know, hundreds of years as a psychedelic. And I'm not sure, to answer your question in B Block, Brad, I'm not sure if it's quote unquote legal in Mexico, but I'm guessing it is legal in Mexico because folks go to Mexico and take Ibogaine therapy, including former state representative Ron Hicks. And as Epen described it on Reardon's show, whether I know that Ron was in the military for a period of time or was a military contractor, something along those lines, but he had, I guess, tinnitus or ringing in the ears. And I guess that Hicks claims that Ibogaine therapy has really helped him. And now Hicks is even working, as I understand it, for one of the therapy centers in Cancun, tough gig, and now lives down there, I guess.
Okay, also he brought up the name, the former governor, Rick Perry from Texas.
Right, yeah.
And he talked about the fact, I did not know this, the Luttrell brothers, one of them is he still a U.S. congressperson or is he not anymore?
I don't know if he is or not.
Well, the one who's probably most famous is Marcus Luttrell, who was the focus on the movie where he was with the SEAL team, and he was the only SEAL team that survived the attack from the Taliban or stuff like that.
Yeah, Reardon mentioned that. I know Reardon's a movie guy. I had never heard of the movie before.
You never heard that? Oh, it's a great movie. I've never seen
What's it called?
What's it called? Lone Survivor, I think is the name of the movie.
Okay.
And essentially, it's a sort of like a biopic. It's Hollywoodized, of course.
I got it. So let's get back to Perry. So Perry teamed up with these guys.
Yes, and because what's interesting was he said that at one point in time, both of the Luttrell brothers, who had PTSD and some other issues from their time in the service, lived with him at the governor's mansion in Texas. Did you hear that part?
I heard that. I heard that. Even say that.
And I'm thinking to myself, and I did a little research on this, and Rick Perry is a huge supporter of veterans and goes out of his way to help veterans and things like that. And supposedly, I don't know how in the world the connection between the Luttrell brothers and Rick Perry, because at the time Rick Perry was the governor of Texas, and the Luttrell brothers lived with him, and he was trying to help them with some issues they have with PTSD and the other issues. And apparently, now you called it. What was the term you called it? What does this stuff do?
It aids in neurogenesis, which is the literal rebuilding of brain cells, maybe synapses. I'm not sure exactly what it is. And Epen has talked about the idea of neuroplasticity, where our brains are actually, you can literally rebuild parts of your brain. And as Epen describes it, there's an entire piece that has to do with opioid addiction, meth addiction, and then there's the other piece that has to deal with dealing with trauma and PTSD. So in other words, Brad, well, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but so let me not interrupt you. It's called neurogenesis, like the actual rebuilding of your brain. And
the point he was making was it does this amazing, like you talked about Ron Hicks. He gave Ron Hicks as an example. And the other situation was we have so many people who become addicted to opioids and that kind of another drug addiction that supposedly this, what's it called again? I just can't remember this name. One more time.
Yeah, maybe you could write it down, Brad, or you could think of a mnemonic device. It's like you're talking about yourself, Bo. So maybe you think of yourself in the Dukes of Hazzard car. You're right next to Luke. Bo, and then gain. In the morning on this show, when you're on one of your health kicks, you drink muscle milk. So maybe you could picture yourself in the General Lee drinking muscle milk and remember Bo, gain.
He talks about that there's been miraculous recovery from essentially brain issues, which is essentially an addiction because your body doesn't necessarily get addicted, it's your brain. Well, your body does get addicted to a certain extent.
Yep, go ahead.
But it's your brain that gets addicted to alcohol and to primarily drugs, opioids, and things like that. And there is a pushback, and he didn't say this in so many words, but the pharmaceutical industry sounds like they're not happy with Ibogaine. Am I injecting something I shouldn't, or what?
Yeah, I think that's probably one way to say it. In the last couple minutes of the interview, I missed, so I might have missed that part of it, Brad. But I mean, I think you can imagine if you're in the business of selling pharmaceutical drugs to address an issue, and then people come in with a new solution that you can't profit from, you're probably going to be opposed to that new solution.
Right. And he was fascinating. And what's interesting was, what you missed the last couple minutes of the interview?
Yeah, like the last minute or two I missed.
Epen said, and I felt so good when I'm driving down the highway, Epen said, there was a time I did this interview in this morning show with these two guys. They used the initials BJ, and quite honestly, I wasn't very good at it. I took some Ibogaine, and that's why I'm doing a perfect interview with you, Mark Reardon. And I thought to myself, man, we got to mention.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Now, here's I'm going to regret this because you're going to end up making a big deal about this. And you're going to say that I'm criticizing him, but I'm not. But the funniest thing with listening to Reardon about this, Reardon was talking about an op-ed that Governor Perry wrote. And God bless Reardon. And I know he's a great guy and a brilliant guy, way smarter than me. But he kept saying it like Rick Perry wrote this op-ed. And I'm wondering, like, did Rick Perry even know that his name was on an op-ed about this topic? You get what I'm saying? Like, a governor doesn't sit down with a Word document and say, I think I want to write about Ibogaine today. Like, somebody wrote it for Rick Perry, and Rick probably skimmed it and then put his name on it, right?
Well, isn't that the way all the important people are?
Yeah, but I mean, and again, Reardon is way smarter than me, and I don't want you to make a deal about this, but, like, Reardon should know that there's no such thing as a governor that writes an op-ed. Like, Perry might have seen it or just said, yeah, whatever, publish it.
Okay.
Like, Rick Perry didn't sit down with a Word document and say, what do I want to say about Ibogaine today? Wait, what's the deadline? When do we need to submit this?
Well, John,
anyway, it was a great interview. And I would also point out, the first place I heard this was on Elijah Hahr's show, KWTO. I'm willing to go out on a limb and say Elijah was the first person kind of in the Missouri public news talk area type realm to talk about Ibogaine. So shout out to Elijah. He's awesome.
Okay, let me give you an example of what you said, which I believe you and I are 100% in agreement on that. If you listen to any of the people on Fox News, and specifically, and I'm not making fun of him because I think he's an incredible guy. He's probably one of the hardest working guys in media, Brian Kilmeade, who does 3 hours on Fox and Friends TV. Then he literally gets on an elevator. It takes 6 minutes to get up to another floor in the building they're in. And he does 3 hours of talk show, which is on 97.1. And then he's doing all sorts of kind of things. Okay. He comes out with a new book like every 4 months. Guess what? He ain't writing those books. And do you know the connection between all the talk show hosts and all the people on Fox who come out with their books all the time?
Who publishes it for him, Brad?
It's a division of Fox News. Did you know
this?
Yeah,
I would believe that.
Yeah, so in other words, they probably got a thing. And think about it for a minute. Talking about vertically integrating, your business model. You own a publishing company, you own a broadcasting company, you own a radio company, you own a TV company, and you essentially say, okay, we got all these high profile hosts, and let's grind out books for these high-power hosts, and we'll get our ghostwriters to write all these books, and then the host can get on their show and say, oh, I just wrote a book, and you can go buy it. It's available on Amazon. You can go to Barnes & Noble. Are they still around? Which is gone? Is Borders gone?
Yeah, Barnes & Noble is still around.
Borders is gone, right? Isn't it Borders
gone?
Borders
has been gone for a while, yeah, but Barnes & Noble is certainly still around.
So I don't believe any of these guys write books, and you find out all this kind of stuff, like the Obama book and the Bill Clinton book. He didn't write those books. Because
and let me interrupt, Brad. What I think was really funny, and an unnamed major corporation, which people can probably figure out who I'm talking about, where I still have friends there, hosted folks from LinkedIn this week, like the people who actually run and do big commercial stuff for LinkedIn. And I was laughing with a friend of mine who works at this unnamed, perhaps German company. What I love is that people that are employees of, say, a company will get on LinkedIn and they'll see an opinion piece written by one of their executives, maybe their division lead. And they'll get in the comments and say, "Hey, Brian, great job. You sure are a visionary leader. I love your point about food security." And what these patsies don't know is that the executive didn't even read this piece. The executive probably knows they have a LinkedIn, but obviously doesn't log in. They don't scan it. They'll never see this comment from the simp that's like, "You sure are a great leader, Brian. Way to go." Because the piece was written by Brian's comms guy. Like, Brian doesn't know what's in this piece. He's never even seen it.
John, you know what's so depressing about this show?
What's that?
You pull back the curtain, and I don't like what I see.
Oh, thank you, Brad. Thank you. And just think that an employee goes up to Brian at a town hall and says, "Hey, Brian, I don't know if you saw, but your last 27 LinkedIn posts, I put my heart on." That's Heart, Brad. "I put my heart on it. You sure are do write some great stuff. Don't you love my comments?" And Brian, being a kind guy, is going to say, "Oh, that's right." And he's going to look at the employee name badge and say, "That's right, Ataru from Japan. Yeah. Oh, I love your comments on LinkedIn. Sure do love writing those posts." And then everybody has a nice laugh. And then Brian goes to CJ Muggs with an attorney from another company, and they just pound beers, Brad.
And Ethan Thampy is sitting at the next table, and he's talking at a very fast cadence. So I can see I can visualize the whole picture. Okay.
You will always remember, Brad, that among the many lives that you have touched and improved, you can add Ethan Thampy to that list.
I have a mosquito right in front of my face that's trying to bite my nose. Okay, we have to take a... Oh, no, we're done. We're done. And, John, we're done for the weekend. And matter of fact...
No, we're not, except for when, Brad?
Tomorrow at 10 o'clock and Sunday morning, 10 a.m. tomorrow morning, and 8 a.m. on Sunday morning, or excuse me, tomorrow at 10 o'clock, Saturday morning, 10 o'clock, Sunday morning, 8 o'clock. It's the John Combest, The Farm Show,
it's
right,
not
John?
It's not the John Combest Show. It is definitely... I'm not the star of the show, Brad. It's just The Farm Show.
And this week, Ethan Thampy is going to get on there. And
how you can grow Ibogaine in your backyard.
Right. For fun and profit. Okay, say goodbye, John.
See you Monday.